We are live now. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Mailmodo's Growth Chat. Today, we're going to be talking about welcome emails like we promised, and we have with us Eman Smile, who is a copywriter, a businesswoman, a podcaster, and most importantly, a mother. And she's taken out, some time from her busy schedule to be with us and to teach us about welcome emails. Hi, Iman, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. And I feel like the reason you mentioned mother is because we've been trying to do this since November. And because my little boy has just been had virus after virus for months and months, we had to keep putting it off. So I'm really happy to finally be here and to be doing this today. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And now, actually, we want to know more about your story from your end, like how you started, how you got into copywriting, and then, how you found emails, and especially about that wonderful podcast of yours, Mistakes That Made Me. Where did you get the idea? How did you get it started? So, like, everything about Iman. Can we have
From
it
the
from
top.
Iman's side? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I was working in a charity running the comms department. I say running the comms department, but I was the only person in that department. So I was doing like marketing communications, all of the, copy for the website, emails, brochures, everything. All our, most important campaigns I was helping to run. And the part that I loved most about that job was always the copywriting. And I was always really amazed by the fact that I could write an email to donors, hit send, and then literally watch the donations come in. Like it was almost magical to me that you could have that, influence on someone and persuade someone to donate to a great cause. And so I knew that that was the part that I loved most. And while I was in this work, it was a great job. I had a good time while I was there, but I was commuting a lot. I was having to travel from one city to another every day, almost every day, to get to this job. And it meant that I wasn't seeing my son. I only had one back then, who was then about 2 years old. I wasn't seeing him very much. I'd get home really late and he'd be asleep. And it just got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. And so, I spoke to my manager then about potentially working from home more. But it just didn't work out. It wasn't something they wanted. They wanted me in the office, and so I left, and I gave in a month's notice, so I still had to work for 1 month. And then on a Friday, I left, and by Monday, I'd set up my copywriting business. I knew that this was what I wanted to do now. I realized that the traditional workplace with all its like rules and needing to me to be in the office. This was pre-COVID when work from home wasn't so kind of appreciated. It didn't work for me and the kind of life that I wanted to live with my son. So I
Uh, Iman, can you hear me? I think we lost you there for a bit.
set up this business. I came out of that sector. Hey, am I back? I can hear
Yeah.
you, but everything's frozen.
Okay, and the same from my end, actually. I can hear you now, but your screen seems to be frozen.
Oh, okay. And now I'm
Uh,
moving. I have no idea what's happened. I'm so sorry.
no problem, no problem. I
Let's
think it's the
see.
internet issue, but no problem. But
Uh,
we can still hear you, Iman, so like we would like to know the entire
okay,
story.
you can still hear me. Okay. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
slowly getting better. So, where was I? Yeah, basically, I started my business and I was with I mean, I just come out of the charity sector. So naturally, like my network was all charities. So I ended up working with a lot of charities in the beginning of my at the beginning kind of portion of my career as a business owner. And then I branched out and started working with for-profit businesses, solopreneurs, creators, podcasters, authors, course creators, service providers, e-commerce brands as well. And initially I was doing a little bit of everything, writing anything that anyone needed. But I always had that love and appreciation for email. And so it was email that I eventually came back to. So a few years ago, I specialized in email strategy and copy, and now that's what I do for my clients. So I, strategize. I come up with their email strategy. I write all their copy, and I help them make money through email and build better relationships with their subscribers through email.
Right.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking mostly about welcome emails, like you said, and how you can turn them profitable and make dollars through that sequence. And I guess you have your masterclass ready with the presentation and everything.
I do. Everything is set up. I'm good to go. Let
So
me.
shall we begin?
Yes. I hope that the internet
No, we
cooperates.
can.
Let me just present.
I hope so too.
Okay.
Presentation.
Here we go. Okay. Can you let me know if you can see this?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, so I think we have a section. We have some time for Q&A, but I can't see the comment box while I'm presenting. So if you put in a
I'll
comment,
take note
I'm
of
not
that.
ignoring you. Okay, great. Sabahat, you can tell me. And let me put my timer on to make sure that I'm timely with this presentation. Okay, let's go. How to create a winning welcome sequence, preferably in a day. Question. Do you have a welcome sequence? Don't be shy. Let me know in the comments if you have one. And I don't mean, do you have a welcome email, like one welcome email that goes out? I mean, do you have a welcome sequence? Sabahat, you can tell me if any answers come in.
I will. So, I mean, we do have a welcome email, so we would like to know.
Yes. Okay, good. You only have one. Is it one?
So we have different, yeah, kind of emails, welcome emails based on how people stumble upon the business sort of thing. So we
Okay.
have message sequences. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about that later in that case.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, let me introduce myself and let me know if any comments come through. My name is Eman Ismail. I'm an email strategist and copywriter. I'm a podcast host, as Savahet mentioned. My podcast is called Mistakes That Made Me. I'm a mama of two, and I am a pizza binger. I love myself some pizza. These are the types of businesses that I've worked with in terms of the email strategy and copy work that I do. Again, podcasters, creators, service providers, e-commerce brands, membership makers, course creators, all that kind of stuff. And these are some of the results I've been able to get for myself and my clients through the emails that I've written for them. So there's one client who is able to hit £300,000 in revenue over the course of 3 launches in 1 year. So we wrote that copy once and she's used it over and over again and is still using it, which is fantastic. Another client just had a $170,000 launch in 7 days. I had with my own launch for my own mastermind a $35,000 launch, and that was with a launch list of just 422 copywriters. So that was a really small segment of copywriters, which just goes to show that you don't need a huge list to have emails that are, working for you and that are making you money as well. And in terms of the kind of stats that we're talking, for one client, I wrote her a 10-part email onboarding sequence, and that finished with an average open rate of 78% and an average click rate of 29%. So these are the kinds of responses that you can get when you do email right, when you do it properly. Eman, your emails have me hooked. I'm ready to give you £1,497. Oh my gosh, this is the best email I've ever read in my life. Seriously, so genius. Eman, that email made me cry. Love this email. Such a great story to hear. These are the kinds of responses that you can get when you do email well, when you know how to email your subscribers in a way that, it gets them interested and gets them excited to open your every email. But wait, can you really make good money from emails? I know for anyone that really does struggle to see a correlation between revenue and email, it can be really hard to believe that you can make good money, especially if you're not someone with thousands and thousands of people on your email list. But here's the truth. 91% of consumers say they want to receive emails from companies they do business with. So the majority of the time, people want to hear from you. And you know what? If they don't, they'll unsubscribe, which is fantastic. You want them to unsubscribe, right? And the other interesting fact to note is that email is meant to be 40 times more effective at bringing in new customers than Facebook or Twitter. And that's for a variety of reasons. One of which is that people are opting in to receive your emails, which shows, firstly, how interested they are in you, your business, your brand, whatever it is that you do. And also, with Facebook and Twitter, and other social media as well, Instagram too, you can't control who is seeing your message, who is seeing your posts. You have followers, you have people, following your stuff, but are they actually seeing the content? The algorithm determines that. You don't. Whereas with email, it's in the 90s. I can't remember the exact stat, but it's 90 something percent of people actually receive your email once you send it. So, which is, you can't say the same about social media. So the people that you are actually delivering your message to are much more likely to actually receive it via email, which is why it's a great marketing and communication tool. But the thing about email is that it only works when you get it right. And the problem is that so many business owners get it wrong. Here's some of the ways that they get it wrong. Maybe you see yourself in one of these. You maybe don't email your list enough. Okay, so maybe you are emailing them once a month and you're expecting results, you're not getting them, and it's frustrating. Maybe you sell too much. Maybe you sell in every single email and there's no space or like breathing room around your sales. Maybe you don't sell enough. Maybe you're that person who is too scared to sell, because it is a scary thing sometimes selling an email. Maybe you are just too scared to sell. You're not selling enough and people don't actually know how to give you money or how to buy from you or how to work with you. And maybe you don't realize that any kind of success that you see with email starts way before you actually start selling. Okay. In order to make money from your email list, you need a mindset shift. Instead of selling first, you want to have this almost like rule for yourself that you nurture first and then you sell second, because you don't ever want to be that friend. Let me tell you about the friend that I mean. I mean that friend who only ever calls you when they want something from you. They only message you when they need something, when they want you to comfort them, or maybe they want money, or maybe they want a favor, or maybe they want you to babysit. But whatever it is, they want something from you. And when you see their name on your phone, you think, I'm not going to answer that because they want something. Okay. Some businesses are that friend to their subscribers. So you are only getting in touch with your subscribers when you want something from them. You're never giving them anything. They never feel valued. And so they stop opening your emails and they stop, responding to your emails. And eventually maybe they unsubscribe or they just sit on your list and do nothing. Instead, you want to nurture your audience really well, way before you start trying to sell to them. The easiest way to nurture your audience really well is with a welcome sequence. So a welcome sequence, for anyone who doesn't know, is a series of emails that you send to new subscribers immediately after they sign up to your list. It's usually a series of 3+ emails, although I do recommend more. It's always automated over a set period of time. So you set it up once and then it's automated. It goes out automatically. Every time a new subscriber signs up, it triggers this series of emails to go out. And this is really your chance to welcome your subscriber, to nurture them, to introduce them to your business, your brand, whatever it is that you do, to yourself if you're the face of your brand or business, and to really build a connection and a relationship with them. This is the place to do that, because we all know that people don't buy because of maybe of the thing. They buy because they believe in you, in what you're doing, in the business, in the brand, in the vision, in the mission, because certainly for me, someone like me, there are millions of, okay, maybe not millions, I don't know. There are a lot of copywriters in this world. But why do my clients choose me? It's because of me and the connection that I've built with them, partially through my emails in this way. So that's something to really think about too. Because a business with a welcome sequence generates up to 320% more revenue than a business that doesn't have a welcome sequence. So if you don't have a welcome sequence, it's a really big missed opportunity. You are missing the chance to, create this relationship with your subscriber that allows them to get to know you, your business, your brand better, and to want to give you their money in however that looks. So what are the benefits of a welcome sequence? Well, first of all, it's automated. You set it up once and then you let it do its job. Now, I don't recommend that you set it up and then never look at it again, ever. Obviously, sometimes there needs to be updates as things change in your business. I don't know, maybe you have a new product or you're doing something different. Maybe you change direction, you pivoted. Of course, your welcome sequence will need to be updated too. But generally, assuming that nothing has changed, you set it up once and you set it up to be automated and then it's done. You let it do what it does best. The great thing about welcome sequence is that you can create the same journey for every new subscriber. So for example, if I'm working with a course creator and there are certain things that we know that the audience needs to know about them in order to really know them and trust them and like them, well, this is a great opportunity to create this one educational journey that every single subscriber has to go on. Okay. So then we know that we're hitting all these different points where, okay, in order for this subscriber to buy this course later on down the line, they need to know that my client, this person, is trustworthy, that they have experience in the field that they're teaching in, that they are one of the best coaches that, is out there. For example, maybe that's with testimonials and social proof and all that good stuff. But we have so many points that we need to touch first before we can even consider creating this environment where the subscriber is ready to buy. A welcome sequence is great because you can feel more confident selling, knowing that your audience has been well taken care of. I just came out of my own launch, where I sent a lot of emails to my list over the past week. And I felt good about sending the emails I did because I spend so much time sending non-sales emails to my email list, sending value, doing workshops, inviting them to free masterclasses and exactly like this, right? So I've done the work to nurture them and to provide them with value. So when it's time for me to sell my things and invite them to buy from me, I feel good about it because it feels like a good balance to me and I'm not scared to sell. It makes me more confident knowing that my welcome sequence has already nurtured them and actually my newsletter has for a while as well. The great thing about a welcome sequence is that you can make money in your sleep if you decide to sell in the welcome sequence, which you can. It's an easy way for you to automate sales, which is always a great thing. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that I see in welcome sequences? Well, the first one is not having a welcome sequence. The second one is only having one welcome email, which is, again, a huge missed opportunity because if you really just sit and think about it for a second, you can really come up with a good welcome email strategy that has a series of emails in it. And well, we'll talk about the worry around that in a minute, but you don't need to be worried about sending more than one. And the other mistake I see people make is not saying the right thing in your welcome sequence. So you have a welcome sequence, but it's not effective and it's not doing what you want it to do. And often that's because you haven't figured out what your audience needs to hear in order for them to say yes to your later offer. Like maybe you're not clear on your audience, maybe their struggles, their pains, their dreams, their goals, their objections, their hesitations. If you're really not clear on that, then it's hard to know what to put into a welcome sequence. So what could a simple 4-part welcome sequence look like? Number one, you in email 1 want to deliver the goods. So if, for example, most people do offer you offer a lead magnet, which is you saying, look, here's this amazing resource or thing that I'm going to give you, but in exchange, you have to give me your email address, right? There's the lead magnet. So if someone has signed up for something, the first email always has to deliver that thing. Don't worry about introducing them to millions of offers. Don't worry about wanting them to go here, there, like follow you here, follow you there, attend this masterclass, do this and do that. Just do what you said you were going to do and just deliver the resource, the freebie, whatever it is. Also set expectations in this email. So let them know that, you're going to be sending them a few more emails over the course of the week. So they know to expect it. So it doesn't feel like a big shock. And this email 1 would go out immediately, as in the moment they subscribe, they would receive this first email. Email 2, maybe you want to get them to tell you a little bit more about themselves. Okay. So I often send this email the same day, but if that feels uncomfortable, you can send it the next day, whatever feels, better for you. But this is the email where I'm really trying to find out, okay, who's on the other side of this email, who's getting this email, and how can I make sure that I send them relevant emails only. So I have two different audiences. They're all business owners, but some of them are copywriters like me, and some of them are not copywriters. So the copywriters like me are there to maybe get an inside look into my business, maybe learn from me, maybe join a couple of my masterclasses or courses for copywriters. Whereas the non-copywriter business owners are the ones that will probably hopefully hire me at some point, right? So right there, I have two different audiences, and I need to know who you are when you come in so that I can send you the right emails, because you need different experiences. You need different welcome sequences, and they get different welcome sequences. In email 3, I would you can introduce yourself or your brand, tell a story, share what you do, so people really understand who you are or what your business does, what your brand does, what's special about you, what makes you different from other businesses or brands that do something similar, and tell them how they can work with you or hire you, so that there is no confusion. And then email 4 could be solely just a value email. You're not asking them to do anything, you're not asking them to buy anything, but you're providing them with value so that they go away and really believe in your expertise and your knowledge. So this is an example email that I sent and that I do send when you sign up for my 35-minute free email class. It's called the email rules. So people sign up to get the email rules. They obviously put in their name and their email address, and then this is the email that they get immediately. Now you'll see this is actually a long email, and I wanted to test whether people would be put off by the fact that it's a longer email. And they're not, actually. I can't even remember what the open rate is. I should have got the stats for the open rates. I can actually check maybe if we have time and my computer doesn't crash. But the open rate's great. I'm really happy with it. And people are clicking on it. And the reason this email is so long is because you still have to sell the freebie. So I promised them a freebie. Yes, they signed up for the freebie. Great. But now I still have one more job, which is to get them to open the freebie and use the freebie, right? So I've noticed this is a duplicate image. So this image is supposed to be basically the call to action that says, here's the email rules, go watch them now. And so what this does is it gets people excited about the email rules. It reminds them why they signed up. I'm not expecting them to just watch it because I created a freebie and they should be grateful for the freebie. No, I'm still trying to sell the freebie to them and prove to them that it is worth their time. So that's email 1. And no, your email 1 does not have to be this long ever. I just wanted to experiment with, the length of my emails. So number 2, this email is all about trying to figure out who is on the other side, right? So remember I told you that I have the non-copywriter business owners that are on my list, and then the copywriter business owners who are on my list. So I'm asking them to click, and again, this is a very short email, so just playing with lengths and varying the lengths of my emails again. I'm asking them to click on the sentence that best describes them. And then what happens is they click on a link, they click on the right one that, describes who they are. And then on the back end of my email service provider, I tag them. So I tag them with either the tag business owner or copywriter, so that I can tell the difference.
Hi, Eman. Am I audible?
And I'm able to copy.
Your voice is breaking a bit, but I heard you there.
This is okay. Let me try and go to the next screen.
No, you're perfectly audible now.
Okay.
But I'm not sure
email
if
3.
if you move to the next slide. Yeah, it's working fine now. Yeah.
Okay. email 3. So this is the email where oh, okay. Let me just, no. Okay. Is my screen still sharing? I don't know what's
Yeah,
going on.
your screen is visible, and we
I
can
have
see food-free
no.
references in the email. So I think we're on the right emails. Email number 3.
Okay, I can't see anything that's going on. Everything has disappeared on my screen. One second, let me just
Uh,
try and find you again.
okay, so your
Okay,
screen
I'm
is
here.
visible to us though, yeah.
Okay, great. I'm still here. So,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. So, email 3 is all about telling my story. So who I am, what I do, how I got here, and I turn it into a bit of a story. So I take them back to 2018 when I was miserable and just really needed something to change. And so this email is really about getting to know me, building that know, like, and trust factor so that the subscriber feels like they know me. And then I also introduce what I do and who I help. And the people that I've worked with. So here I'm establishing, authority and trust and the understanding that I know what I'm talking about. And then at the end, I also link to some podcast interviews where I talk more about who I am, what I do, my journey, So in case anyone wants to know more, so they can go listen to these podcast interviews. And then finally, email 4 is the value email. So this is like, I have nothing to gain from this email. I just want people to enjoy it and to watch the video and feel like I am the expert that I've said I am. So this whole email is around this email teardown that I did, where basically I signed up to Kylie Cosmetics emails. That is Kylie Jenner's company. So I signed up to their emails. I got their emails, and then I analyzed their emails, and then I recorded a video of me analyzing their emails. And there was a lot of things that they didn't do very well. So that's what the email is. That's what this video is about. And I think people really like this because they like to see that, wow, bigger companies make email mistakes as well. Like there are things that even the bigger companies are not doing well. And it also gives them an insight into my mind and how I do email and approach email. So they watch this video, they enjoy it. I share screenshots of people saying they love this kind of thing. They love the video, just to prove that, again, it's worth their time and it's worth them watching it. And bear in mind, I created a little bit of a story around this as well to just make it an engaging email. And those are the 4 first emails in that sequence. And just so you know, there are more, but I stopped it at 4 for you to make it just, super simple, because your welcome sequence doesn't have to be super, super long. It really is just about communicating what you need to, and that takes as many emails as it takes. So now that your subscribers have gone through your welcome sequence and they are nurtured, they are much more likely to trust you, to like you, and to buy from you, or to sign up for whatever it is that you have to offer. But there are 2 ways that you can really take your welcome sequence to the next step. So the first way is to personalize your welcome sequence. And no, I don't just mean by using the first name tag. I'll go into that more in a second. And the second way is to use trigger-based automations to sell more. So for example, my first point, personalize your welcome sequence. Personalization is so much more than just including first name in your emails. And actually, if you do that wrong, it can just feel really creepy nowadays, right? If you overdo it as well. But you can personalize your welcome sequence based on where your subscriber is joining from, for example. Are they joining your welcome sequence after they've listened to you on a certain podcast? Are they joining your list after buying a certain product? Mention it. Show them that you are paying attention to where they've come from, what they've listened to, what they've bought already, so that they really feel seen. Where they've come from matters. Their journey to kind of getting to you matters. You can also create a personalized experience. Well, creating a personalized experience creates this kind of seamless experience and helps people feel like they are relevant. It helps you create emails that are relevant, and it makes people sit up and notice, because so many businesses don't do this. Okay. There are even if you just personalize the subject line, for example, even if you just personalize the hook, the opening of the email, the first few lines, or the first email in a sequence, by personalizing your welcome sequence in this way, you can also add a tag to the subscriber that tells you, where they came from or what they bought. And that's important for you to know so that you can sell them relevant products or services in the future. So if you know that someone has done your free masterclass, for example, already, then maybe you want to sell them your paid masterclass next. So that tag allows you to know, okay, well, they've taken the free masterclass, so they are primed and ready maybe to try and buy the paid one. So this actually gives you more information about your subscribers and allows you to use that information to send them relevant offers and information. So here's an example for me. So I had a welcome sequence, and then I went on a podcast called the Quiet Rebels podcast. And I created a specific landing page for anyone who would listen to this specific interview on the Quiet Rebels podcast. And then I created this new welcome sequence. But instead of creating a whole new welcome sequence for my ebook, what I did was I actually just added in one line at the top of the email. Hey man, I hope you loved my Quiet Rebels interview as much as I loved recording it. As a little thank you for signing up to my newsletter, I want to give you a copy of my free ebook. This was the only line that I changed. And I think maybe this half a line as well I added. And this email already existed, but I personalized it by just adding 1.5 extra lines. And so by sending that out, the person who receives it is seeing that I appreciate them listening to my interview. It makes them sit up and notice that I'm paying attention to them. Okay. These emails are not just your regular bog standard emails. The second way to power up your welcome sequence is to use trigger-based automations to sell more. So subscribers reveal their interests through their behavior, e.g. clicks. What they click on, they're usually interested on, right? So you could set up trigger-based automations that are triggered when someone in your welcome sequence clicks through to a certain sales page, for example, but don't buy. So them clicking on that link allows you to tag them. You know that they didn't buy because they didn't get the buying tag. And because of that actually triggers a whole new sales sequence where you are trying to persuade them to buy the thing that they just abandoned. And then the other thing is, am I still there, Sabahat? Because you went very quiet. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I just didn't want to interrupt you in between.
No, that's great. Thank you. So the other thing is that this allows you to sell to a smaller segment that has already expressed their interest. So instead of sending everything to everyone, you can send relevant emails to the right people who've already expressed interest in something and get higher conversions and happy subscribers. So this isn't it's not always going to be perfect, right? Because what happens is sometimes people click on things that they're not actually interested in buying. They're just curious and are just, I don't know, want to have a read or want to find out like what you're doing or what's going on, but they have no interest in buying the thing. But so that happens. But we can assume that most people who click on a certain link and they know what that link is before they, before they go onto the page, we can assume that they're clicking because they're specifically interested, which means that now that you have registered that interest, you can then, for example, set them up so that they receive another sales sequence that's focused on that one thing that they're really interested in. Now, all this can sound really complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Here's how to make it really easy on yourself. You can create a simple welcome sequence in one day because the reality is that you probably already have a lot of the content that would go into your welcome sequence. So you want to repurpose your content. Have a look at the content that's already in existence. You don't have to create new things for your welcome sequence. So for example, that Kylie Jenner, Kylie Cosmetics teardown email that I told you about, that was already a thing. Like I'd already created that. I'd posted it everywhere and it was really popular. And because of its popularity, I thought this is something that I want more people to see. So I put it in my welcome sequence so that everybody sees it when they first come into my kind of world, especially, my email world. And so that already existed. I didn't create a video for my welcome sequence. I had a look at the content I already had and then I repurposed it into an email, turned it into an email and sent it out. And that's what you can do. So think about your popular blog posts, your popular maybe podcast interviews. Maybe you have a podcast, maybe you were on a podcast, maybe have a look at your popular social media posts. Which are the ones that really resonated? Can you turn that into an email? I have a client who's an e-commerce brand. They had an Instagram post that performed really well and that I felt spoke really well to what was going on with their audience. So I took that Instagram post almost word for word, turned it into an email in their welcome sequence, added a CTA to buy a certain product, sent this email out, and this email that was an Instagram post is now making them money on as an automation in the welcome sequence. And so have a look for those kind of opportunities as well. For the intro email where you introduce your business, your brand, yourself, whoever it is, whatever it is, repurpose the copy from your about page or bio and rework it for an email. You don't have to start from scratch. You don't ever have to start from scratch. So you can create this welcome sequence in one day by sitting down for a few hours and just having a look at the content that already exists and piecing it all together and turning it into this kind of email journey that people go on with you, and that can really work for your business or brand. So thank you. That is the end of the presentation. Before I let you go, I want to leave you with some more email conversion tips. So I mentioned the email rules. It's a 35-minute crash course in email marketing, and it's totally free. And it's only 35 minutes long because I know you're busy and you don't have time to be watching our masterclasses. But this teaches you how to boost your conversions and sales through email very quickly. It's super actionable. It's stuff that you can start using today in your emails, and they're really easy steps. So hopefully you'll feel like you are able to take what you learn, put it into your new welcome sequence, and email can just start to make a little bit more sense for you and be more effective as well. So that is everything. Thank you so much. Let me stop sharing.
So that was a great presentation, Eman. Thank you so much. I'm sure all of us have learned a lot. We got a lot of new ideas, especially about the repurposing in blog post, all the things that you mentioned about repurposing the social media post and everything. We're definitely going to use them in our welcome sequences now.
Great.
We have a few questions here. One of them is from 𝐊𝐞𝐲. And she is saying, what do you think is the appropriate trigger for a welcome series flow for a service-based organization?
What do you think is the appropriate trigger for a welcome series flow for a service-based organization? Well, you want to think about and it's really hard to answer because it'll usually be a lead magnet, right? You're offering something to your subscriber so that they sign up to your email list, which then triggers the welcome series and the welcome sequence. But what that thing is that you are giving to them initially or offering them really depends on your audience. Like, what are they struggling with? What do they want to know more about? What are their pains, their struggles, their goals? What are their frustrations? How can you help them? Or how can you, your business, your organization, how can you help them? Where do you fit in? How do they like to consume content? Do they like ebooks or masterclasses, a video series, a podcast episode? Like, it's so personal to your audience that it's really difficult for me to, like, I would be just lying if I just said whatever, because it doesn't matter what I say. It really means it. You really have to go back to kind of your audience and figure out, okay, what do they need? Where can we help? And if you don't know, ask them, survey them, interview them, find out. There is so many answers within your audience. Sometimes we forget to ask them.
Right. So like you mentioned right now about, getting to know more about your customer, probably through surveys and, interviews. Do you think emails are the good tool for doing that? Because we believe that it is. So, and also with interactive emails, there's so many ways where you can actually understand users' preference within the email itself without them having to go to another landing page and filling out a form. So, like, do you have some ideas? Have you ever used these kind of surveys and forms in a welcome sequence or any other email sequence for that matter? And how has that impacted your, the way you create emails later on in the sequence and conversion ultimately?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, that's what I love about Mailmodo, is that you can insert the surveys and forms inside the emails, which will, I can only imagine how much more that boosts the response rate of people actually doing the survey and filling in the form. I do a lot of surveys and a lot of forms. So much of the work that I do is about like audience research and customer research, because before I can write any emails, I need to know who your audience is, right? And everything that's going on with them. So yes, I do loads of forms, loads of surveys, but my surveys have always been, you have to click out of the emails, which is, it is what it is. But yeah, I really like that Mailmodo doesn't need you to click out. But in terms of how that helps my emails, absolutely. So I'm asking things like, why did you join my email list? What is it that you need help with? How can I help you? Because again, there's so much knowledge in your subscribers' mind. This is a place an opportunity to generate content ideas, to figure out your next services and offerings. There's so much there. So yes, I do depend on them a lot, and I put them in different places. I always have a survey when someone's bought a product. I usually ask, initially when they first buy it, why did you buy it? Like, what are you struggling with that made you buy this thing? And then also at the end, I'll have a feedback form. It's good. And it's interesting to see those two different perspectives when they first start and when they finish the thing. When they join my email list, I want to ask, like, why did you join? Sometimes it's not even putting in a form or a survey. Sometimes it's just asking them to reply and tell me why they joined or what's going on that, they're struggling with, or whatever it is. So yes, I surveys, forms are invaluable for email strategy. Yeah.
Right. So, like you said, sometimes people do tend to opt out of your email list also, and that's where also the survey comes in handy. Another thing that most people struggle with and have a question around is how many emails are too many emails, especially in a welcome sequence. So when people are strategizing, we brainstorm a lot between the time gap that should be there between emails, and like, should we be saying, are we sending them less emails, should we send more, or is it too much? So do you have some sort of a tip or something that you have practiced for any of your client and arrived at a certain number? What would you suggest to marketers who are building this kind of strategy?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to map out the email sequence. So ideally, like, how many emails would you have? What would go in each email? Like, map that out first. And then you can start thinking about the frequency, because then okay, we only have 3 emails, or we only have 5 emails, or maybe we have 7 or 8 emails. So you want to figure out, well, how many do we have before you even start thinking about when to send them, how frequently to send them. So for me, I just did a 5-part welcome sequence for a client, and I think the first 3 emails went out once a day. And then for the 4th email, there was a 2-day break, and then that went out. And then there was a 3-day break, and then the 5th email went out. So it, increased in time. This amount of time between emails increased as the sweet welcome sequence went further along. At the beginning of the welcome sequence, it was really quite like a snappy, fast-paced sequence, because that's what I want for that sequence. When people first sign up and they're excited about signing up, I want them to be excited to open an email every day. Now, remember, most people don't mind you sending them emails every day for a very short period of time, a few days. But let them know that you're doing that, so that they're not surprised and they're not shocked, and they won't see it as being spammy or whatever else. And then the other thing is, if they don't like it, they'll unsubscribe, which is fine. Don't be afraid of unsubscribes. I just had my own launch where I sent out a lot of emails over the past week, and I had, I don't know, I want to say 20 to 30 unsubscribes, which is a lot more than I usually would get. But I'm really happy about those unsubscribes, because those people were clearly never invested enough in what I am doing to even to stay on my list, let alone to buy something on later on down the line. And at the end of the day, I'm a business, so I'm here to sell things. I'm not paying for you to be on my email list to flap around. I got a business to run. So don't be afraid of unsubscribes. And then the other thing is to note is that, the more emails you send for a welcome sequence, as you get further and further down the welcome sequence, the open rate will drop. So less and less people will open the emails later on down the line. So you want to make sure anything, and that's totally normal, but you want to make sure that anything important that is time sensitive, or you want them to do quickly, or you really, really want them to know and they cannot miss out on, you should really front load that and make sure those are at the front of the email so that they don't get, lost towards the end.
Right. So those were actually very useful tips, and there are some really good takeaways that we can take here, from here. Is one of the thing is you should always tell your subscribers about how many emails they're going to get, and they should know exactly what to expect. And another thing that you said was never be scared of the unsubscribe button. It's good if people. It's better to have like an engaged list than a long list with a lot of unengaged subscribers. So that's pretty interesting too. Another point that you said was for open rates that it's going to get lesser as you progress in the welcome sequence. So those were some really interesting takeaways, Iman. Thank you so much for that. And I think one more question that I really wanted to know was, you work with a lot of brands. There are so many businesses that you help, and of course, like as a copywriter, as an email strategist, there are so many business emails that you must just observe from distance, and probably, like you said, Kylie Jenner's brands, and you were like, these are not good emails. So are there any emails that you really like for example, do you think some brand is doing good, or some creator that you kind of like, hats off, you're nailing your emails right now? So would you like to mention some of them?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so I really like, is it the Honest Company? What's she called? Jessica Alba. She has a company called
Yeah.
Honest, and I think their emails are absolutely fantastic. I have an entire email account dedicated to just being signed up to newsletters. So I'm like opening this account now to see whose emails am I always opening. Their company, uh, is it Bombas? The sock company. I like theirs. Um, and then there are individual creators, individual business owners like
Mhm.
Tarzan K. I love her emails. Um, who else's am I always opening? Mm, I mean, I'm just looking at. I've got Amy Porterfield in my newsletter thingy, but I'm not opening all her emails. Um, yeah, I like Being Boss. Being Boss was a client of mine, and they have a great podcast as well called Being Boss. So go check that out if you like podcasts. And they have a really great newsletter because they curate content from around the internet that is relevant to their subscribers, and then put them all in a weekly email. So they curate fantastic content for you. So I don't have to go around searching for like cool, interesting articles. They send them to me every week, and so that's a different style of newsletter that I really like. I read those emails a lot.
Right. So that's interesting, Iman. Okay. So, like, as you said, there are certain emails that you open immediately, and there are certain emails that you don't. So, what is it about emails? Like, is it the subject line? What is it in the subject line that kind of, like piques your interest, and you have to just open that email and see what's there? So, like,
Yes.
from a marketeer to a marketeer, what impresses you the most?
Um, okay. The emails that always get me are the ones that are really good at creating some kind of like connection, or make me think that this is a personalized email. Sometimes I open an email and I think the person has actually written it to me because they just absolutely nailed, maybe even just use of the first name tag in their subject line, nailed it. And I open it thinking it's actually an email for me, and then realize, oh no, it's a newsletter email. It's for everyone. Um, so yeah, there was one. I remember one time being really disappointed because who was it? Someone had done this, and I literally thought like this famous person had written me an email. I was like, oh my god, they know who I am. No, they hadn't. It was it was just a really well executed email. So I think sometimes when businesses, brands are able to do that well, like make me feel like I'm the only one in the room. I'm the only person they're writing to. It's really powerful, and that is first the subject line, and then you open the email, and then it continues on in the email.
So, like again, like and as an individual, what do you prefer? Do you prefer like a heavily text-based email, or do you like emails that are like really nicely designed and there's a lot of imagery going on? As a marketeer, what do you prefer? What do you think works also? Like since you work with a lot of clients, you must know that.
Yeah, with my clients, it's different, right? So I work with e-commerce brands, and with e-commerce brands, images work really well, as you can imagine. People want to see what they're buying. They want to see it first, right? So that works really well for e-commerce brands, but for like my course creators, my solopreneurs, creators, service providers, that kind of thing, I find that text-based emails work much better. A few images, like maybe some images or gifs, just to add like personality, to break up the text so it's not just like a big, block of text. But for those, I feel like the more natural those emails come across, the more effective they are. So people don't really in those spheres want to be reminded that this is a sales email, you're trying to sell something to me, which is what, a newsletter banner, a perfectly beautifully designed email does. When it really feels more like a note to a friend or to someone, then it feels much less markety and more, again, personal. And I think they're more successful there at building that connection. But it's different for e-commerce brands. So again, it really depends on what you're selling and who you're talking to.
Right, right, right. So, if I know you don't work a lot with SaaS brands, but if you had to give one tip to all the SaaS email marketers there, what would you give them? Like, you must have observed a lot of emails from these companies as well, and you feel like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could tell them that. So, like, this is your chance, maybe,
Oh,
to.
that's a good question. Um, that's a good question. I mean, I had a situation recently with, oh no, that's not helpful. I think that's a really hard question. Um, I'm just trying to. There was one SaaS company that annoyed me recently,
Okay.
because of an email they sent to me. I don't know. I think the SaaS world is doing a good job. It has a hard job as well. And is doing a good job of wanting to help the subscriber. So, for example, I'm talking specifically here about maybe the onboarding piece where you're trying to help someone like figure out how to use the tool, learn to like a new tool or system, whatever it is. That's a big job. And I think they're doing a really good job. I think where I see maybe the most successful efforts are, again, I know I keep harping on about the same thing, but even SaaS companies can do it, that like connection piece where it's just you and me. Like it's me and you. It's not, you're not talking to the whole world. You're making me feel like you really have time for me. You're really trying to help me figure out how to use this tool. I'm not just another number. I'm not just another email subscriber. Yeah, I like that. And I think also, okay, maybe this is the one. Maybe this is my answer. I think it's the follow up. Some SaaS brands do it really, really well where they will follow up with me if I'm not using the tool, if I'm not in there, if I have, given up on it. They'll follow up with me, try to help me, keep me going, and then others just won't, and then I will forget that it even exists. So maybe that's the one I'll go with. I think that's the one. There's power in the follow up, right?
That is a very interesting tip where, it's important to keep people engaged. But if you see that there are subscribers who are not maybe using your product that much, or they're not as engaged, it's time to kind of a check in to understand what's going wrong.
Yeah,
And that's where emails come in. That is why they are so powerful. You can have like one-on-one conversation with everybody. So
exactly.
yeah, so thank you so much, Iman. I think we had a wonderful session and I learned a lot. I'm sure all the audience also learned equally well. And it was great having you. And I really
Thank
hope you had a
you.
good time too.
I did. I did. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope so too. So we'll keep in touch then.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Iman, and see you all in the next group chat. Bye. Have a great
Bye.
day. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Hello.